Okay, I'm going to screen share really quickly. Okay, welcome everyone. I am Melissa. Welcome to our Racial Equity Grants Individual Artist Informational Session for today. As you'll see on the screen is a mural by the artist Seven. He was a REGIA recipient in 2021. If you're going down Holtzclaw in East Maine, you'll be able to see it. It's beautiful in person as well as in picture. So the agenda for today is I'm gonna do a welcome so you know who I am and James is. I'll do an overview of ArtsBuild. I see on this session many friends of ArtsBuild and a few of you who might want to know more about what we do each day. We're gonna do a grant overview. We'll talk to a past recipient of the REGIA grant. We'll go over some grant review criteria. As well, I'll open it up for questions and comments. You're welcome to, in the chat, put questions as we go along. It is harder in real time for me to see the chat, so James will keep an eye on it, but also by the end, I'll scroll through the chat and answer any questions. Let's see if I can get my computer to move. There we are. So the first thing that we want to talk about is the economic impact of the arts on our local economy. Every 5 years, there's an arts economic prosperity study. The last one was fully completed in 2017, and the numbers that you see forth demonstrate the economic impact of arts and culture in Hamilton County and nationally. Arts does drive the economy, and as you see by these numbers, you'll notice that the last study was 2017. Although it's done every 5 years, the pandemic sort of put a little stopgap on it for a second, but we have just completed the next study, and the results of the impact of the arts will come out in October, so we'll have updated numbers for all of you. So ArtsBuild, we are a staff of 9, and I'm going to introduce myself and then James and then talk about what we do each and every day. So I'm Melissa. My last name's Aston. I work with the grants and community engagement here at ArtsBuild. And then I'll hand it over to James.
Hi, everyone. I'm James, the president here at ArtsBuild, and it's good to see lots of ArtsBuild's friends and associates in this Zoom. We're excited to offer this new grant, and I hope that you all apply for it.
Thank you, James. So we do a lot of different things here at ArtsBuild. I'll talk about grant making last because that's why we're here. But we do arts education, ensuring all people of all ages have high quality arts education and experiences. We offer shared services, and what that means is we, throughout the year, have free workshops for artists and arts organizations to help strengthen what they do each and every day. We do leadership development. We mentor and help grow new arts and culture leaders and arts organizations in Hamilton County through workshops and mentorships and funding and things of that nature. Advocacy is a big part of what we do, conveying to on a local and national level the impact of arts and culture on the economy and all other aspects of our lives. And then grant making is what I do each and every day. We have 6 grant programs that we push forward throughout the year. And our largest is a mission support grant, and it funds currently 20 of our arts organizations in Chattanooga. And so this racial equity grant is one of the 6 programs that we also push forward each year. And I'll talk more in depth about that as we move forward. So our racial equity grant for individual artists, it is aimed at increasing arts and culture produced by diverse artists who are reflective of our community. We want to make sure that we give a round of thank you to Ben Wood Foundation, Lynn Hurst Foundation, and also our individual donors for supporting the funding aspect of this grant. Without them, we could not do this for the last. This will be our 4th year providing funding for this program. So why REGIA? So one of the things that we did a few years ago is took a really hard look at where our funding was going. And what we recognized was that only roughly about 20% of the funding was going to BIPOC artists and BIPOC organizations. And overall, we needed it and wanted it more towards the 40%, which is reflective of the faces of Chattanooga and Hamilton County. And so this is why this equity grant was born, to help us recenter our funding to make sure that all faces are at the table. A really great thing that we also do, and we're currently updating for this last fiscal year, is a map that you can find on our website, and it delineates all our programs and all our funding, and you can click on the different buttons and see where we've granted funding or where we've held programs and things of that nature, so you can see the impact throughout the county of ArtsBuild and the work of artists and arts organizations that have worked with us. So just go to artsbuild.com. It's under the grants page. So some of the nitty-gritty timeline of the grant, which is super important, is this application will open Friday, August 18th. That's tomorrow. I have it timed to open about 9 a.m. But don't feel, don't feel nervous or rushed, because we're keeping this open for about 8 weeks. And why we do this is so I can support you through the process if you need that. And so the deadline is Thursday, October 5th, 5 p.m. And one of the nice things that we are able to do is provide draft feedback on each of your applications. So what that means is you're working within our submit system, which I'll show you a little later on. And in that system, you'll do your draft application. I can see everything you're doing in real time, which is lovely, because then you'll say to me before September 28th, hey, Melissa, would you be open to doing a draft review? And of course, I'll say yes. And what I'll do is I'll go through your application, all the written and the video aspects, and then your budget and things of that nature, and I'll provide you feedback before the deadline. And then you can make a choice to use what feedback feels good to you, or we can also set up a consultation if you want to come in, and we'll schedule about a 30-minute time period where we can look at your application, talk about your ideas to support you to move forward. And then traditionally grant notifications go out about the beginning of December into November, beginning to December. And so I'm going to pause here to make sure we don't have any initial questions. I'm going to check the chat. Does anybody have questions about the deadlines and things of that nature? Great. I do talk fast. That's why I want to pause occasionally to give y'all time to catch up and soak in what I'm saying and see if any questions arise. Okay. So as you'll see, we're going to talk about eligibility next. And you'll see the years in which we have had this grant program. So the first year, the funding was 2021, and it was for artists who are Black or African American. In 2022, it was artists who are Latino, Latina, Latinx, Hispanic. 2023, our current year, we have Asian artists, Native American artists, and Pacific Islander artists. They're currently going through the grant cycle right now. And then in 2024 will be the BIPOC female artists who are been funded. So this grant is for emerging or mid-career artists, minority artists, so established. You have to be living and working in Hamilton County. And you have to be age 18 or older. As you'll see when I talk about more about this grant, and when we hear from a past REGIA recipient, you'll understand the foundation of this grant is to help an artist have the space and the breadth to take their art from one level to the next. So there's a lot of growth of professional development within this grant. It's a really awesome opportunity for artists to just step back, breathe, do their art, and see how it can take them further and further. So the eligible artistic disciplines that you can apply for is visual, 2D, 3D, and installation, fine craft, media, such as film and photography. Performance is dance, music, theater, and vocal, and then literary arts. You can apply for up to $10,000. And there is $50,000 available, so approximately 5 grants will be awarded. This last round in 2023, we awarded 6 grants actually, because not everybody asked for the full grant amount, and so we were able to fund more artists than we originally thought. And you'll see a picture of them there. You'll see a mixture of the artists and some of our ArtsBuild board members, as well as James and myself. You'll notice that there's no matching funds required, which is pretty rare for a grant. It opens up, and why we do this is because sometimes matching funds for individual artists is very challenging. And so you'll notice that. Likely, though, you might come across in writing your grant some in-kind matching, such as, spaces will provide you venue space, or, maybe somebody will donate some, art supplies to you. So you likely will have some matching, but it's not required for the grant. Does anybody have questions about the disciplines and the funding amount and things of that nature? Okay. So the funding year is January 15th, 2024 through December 15th, 2024. So you have approximately a year to move through your grant proposal if you're funded. Some things that the equity grant cannot be used for is capital improvements, such as buildings or construction or seed money for starting a new organization. And it cannot be used for a fundraiser. But there's many things that it can be used for. And so you'll notice when we go through the application, you'll pick a funding category. So there's 3: artist works, equipment, or professional development. So artist works, what that means is, you're taking time to work on a new project. And so you can pay yourself, you could pay for supplies, you can even pay for a space in which to do that. Equipment can be, you have a new project that you're wanting to jump into, but it has equipment that is required and you don't have, and so you can buy that through this grant. And then professional development means that you have ideas of how to take your art to the next level. but you need professional support to do that, so that you might know of conferences and workshops and things of that nature that would be helpful to you. That is also covered by the grant. And the question was asked, can you use the funds for multiple categories? Yes, you can, no problem. What you would do in the application is designate the category that most of the funding will go towards. And then what you'll do when you're writing about your project or what you're requesting, you can talk about how it does fall within multiple categories and just explain how that is. In this current round of recipients, we have 2 who actually fall in 2 categories, but one was like, one was more artist works and then just a little bit of equipment, things like that. So as long as you're explaining it well, we'll definitely understand that. So other things you can pay for that I might have already went through, major equipment, artist fees, workshops, transportation. So let's say that your workshops or courses take you outside of Hamilton County, which then you can cover some of your transportation costs through that as well. Okay. Okay, I'm going to flip to the next one. If you have any more questions about expenses, activities, we definitely can go over that. But we have a special guest with us. We have Pablo Mazarregos, who was a 2021 or 2022, actually, REGIA grant recipient. He's going to talk about his grant experience, as well as an upcoming event that has arisen because of the work he has done. So welcome, Pablo.
Sorry.
You're fine.
Hi, everybody. Apologies for the sound. I'm in the place that currently has a lot of happy teenagers right now. But man, how exciting that you guys are interested in applying for this. I applied for mine. Has it been 2 years now? It seems like, and I'm just, I don't know, it still feels so fresh. Really happy for you guys. What a really cool opportunity. I assume you guys are much smarter than I am in terms of writing all these out, but I feel like technology has advanced so quickly within the last 2 years that there seems to be more tools out there to kind of help you get your thoughts and your budgets and all that sort of stuff. So I would totally recommend looking into those things. Is there anything in particular, Melissa, that you wanted me to share about in general?
Yeah, tell them about your project, your documentary, and I would love for you to tell them also about the upcoming event at Reflection Writing.
Okay. Yeah, so I applied to, I requested funding for a documentary that retells my journey as a child to cross the border so I could be reunited with my mom here in the United States. This pretty surreal project. I had been thinking about it for so long, and just even talking about it surreal because the project involved traveling to the US-Mexico border, traveling to Guatemala. It involved having a production team, and then, the creative development of the story. I had one of the participants that helped out was in in Uruguay. It was a big team. So the REGIA grant was really a springboard to getting all the other additional funding that kind of allowed me to then really support the whole team. And the film turned out to be great. It's about 40 minutes long. We premiered it this past May. We were doing some feedback sessions before we had a big final premiere, because the whole point was that the documentary would be used as a toolkit in the schools and in the community to help immigrant children kind of that are wrestling with emotions of being away from their parents and their country, just to really foster hope in their lives, and bring awareness and education to folks that want to serve them or that are already kind of serving them. So we're going to do our English premiere on September 15th at Reflection Writing. The name of the film is, in English, it's called Someday Soon. And in Spanish, it's called Un Nuevo Pasado. We chose a Spanish name that was really kind of honing in with what we wanted to address. So the purpose, the premise of the film is that I go to the past, I revisit the border, I revisit family, and I try to gain a better understanding of just my own childhood and what it was like for me to be separated from my parents. So the Spanish title means, the translation would be a new past, un nuevo pasado. I didn't like how it sounded in English, just a literal translation. So I went with Someday Soon, which were the words that my aunt would taught me to write at the end of every letter I wrote to mom while living away from her, just to kind of keep hope alive that indeed, someday soon we were going to be together again. Really beautiful story, a lot of work, but I'm really proud of the work. I think what was really encouraging for me was that not only was my work going to highlight the immigrant experience, but it was also going to highlight Chattanooga. And I had thought about that too. Somebody I shared that with. That was really cool. That was really motivating. Bringing partners in was really helpful. But even if you don't have all of your funding, I think once you get the REGIA and the ArtsBuild grant, to me, it was just really helpful because it turned out to be a good springboard to reach out to other supporting organizations. It was great. It has opened so many doors for me. My film is actually hopefully going to be getting an opportunity to be screened in South America. I've gotten a chance to show my film in North Carolina, and where we had some government officials who watched it and we were really interested in bringing it back. So really it's been great. I mean, it's been a lot of work and it continues to be that. But really excited. We're premiering at September 15th to kick off Latino Heritage Month. And then we're going to be using the film throughout the fall and spring, in school settings and in workshop settings around the community. Really cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Pablo. What we love about Pablo's experience with REGIA is he had an idea and that has expanded beyond the year. So he created a documentary and then all these other doors are opening as he moves forward. So it was a springboard for next steps. And so I know I'm super excited about the September 15th event. I put the link in the chat for folks to explore and if they would like to attend. So thank you, Pablo. We super appreciate you. And I'm going to go back before I get to the back to my slides. Someone asked about, to give examples of how the funds can be used. And so some things I'm thinking of through 2021 and 22 and 23. So an artist used funds to create a mural and paid for his time, for the equipment that was required, such as lifts and things of that nature, and for the supplies such as paint and brushes and things of that nature. Another artist worked on a book, and so she took time to pay herself to write, to pay an illustrator to get the book published and things of that nature, and host writer sessions and launches and things of that nature. We've had folks who have what else have we have? We've had time, a lot of it's artist fees, supplies like cameras and videography equipment and things of that nature. Does that help clarify, what you can do is think about your art at its current level and where you're hoping to take it and what project and ideas you have in mind. And then it'll start kind of birthing those like, oh, well, I need paint, or I need this, or I need that. And it's a pretty wide range of things you can use to pay for. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again and do that. Give me just a second. There we are. Some additional information about the grant is grant activities and outcomes must be stated, accessible, and able to be documented. So what that means is you have a plan, you know, what will happen in your grant year? What do you expect to come of it? And how are you determining that? And how are you documenting it? Are you doing, if you're having an event, are you doing surveys? Are you doing videography? Are you doing photography? Things of that nature. Any of that we can support you in knowing how to get that on paper and, you know, and spell it out for the year. One of the things that is required that you have a federal tax ID or a social security number that is required. Grant funding is taxable income. Artists must be based in Hamilton County with proof of residency. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump over to the submit website so that you can see can you all see my screen that says ArtsBuild Racial Equity Grant 2024?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. So when it goes live, this is the face sheet that you will all see. It gives you the basic information. You'll see the name of the grant, the purpose of the grant, which we've talked about. This grant is for BIPOC female artists. It's in 3 categories, as we said: artist works, equipment, and professional development. Again, we thank our funders, which we're super appreciative of. One thing I'd like to kind of really highlight is we have some resources here. We have the ArtsBuild program mapping project, which I talked about, where you can see where our footprint has been in Hamilton County. There's a Zoom presentation about it that was made a few years ago. You'll note that if you scroll to minute 44, you can watch the whole thing. But if minute 44 is where Miriam starts talking about the project. And then Chattanooga Music Census, which was just facilitated, has brought forth really interesting data about the music industry in Chattanooga. And then there's the One Chattanooga Plan, the Arts and Social Impact Explorer, and the AEP6 study that I spoke about earlier about the economic impact of arts and culture in Hamilton County and nationally. And then there's an Artists at Work Thrive Region report. You know, you could start exploring those resources to generate ideas and see where arts and culture are impacting parts of Hamilton County and the Southeast and also nationally. And then you'll notice under eligibility, you can see the full guidelines. And y'all can y'all see it says grant guidelines? I'm going to take that as a yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So this is your first stop, like not the application, nothing else, the guidelines. It is your guide, your book towards how to focus on the grant and the questions. It goes through everything. So I'm going to scroll down, it talks about things that we've already talked about, the crux of what the grant is for, things of that nature, who is eligible to apply, BIPOC female artists, established mid-career artists, 18 or older. Organizations and groups are not eligible to apply. This is an individual artist grant. So you'll note that. If we scroll down. So example of funding options, is reiterated here: artist fee, rental fees, marketing, assessment tools, things of that nature. And then it delineates what is not eligible. We go through some applications, tips and things like that. Reading the guidelines thoroughly to making sure you're eligible and completing the application carefully is really the most important. If you have questions about your eligibility, just check in with me via email or my office phone, and we can talk you through it. Give yourself ample time to do the application. We do work really hard to make sure the application is very streamlined and not overly tedious, but I have seen over the last year or so that applicants who start towards the end of the application period actually don't do as well as those who start earlier. It just gives yourself time to kind of, generate the ideas and get it really a great finished product before it's submitted, and also gives you time for me to ask me to do a draft review. Let's see. Double check your budget to make sure your budget template matches your narrative. And so I'm going to actually pull up the budget template so that you can see what I'm talking about. And I am always happy to work on a budget with you because sometimes that is challenging for folks. So what you're seeing here is the budget template for REGIA 2024. Let me see if I can, and I'm going to scroll down. So this first box here is income. So what that means is your grant will be considered income. And so whatever your grant amount is, right here, you would write, let's say it's 10,000, you're going to do 10,000. And let's say that you have been, fortunate enough to get another grant, or a foundation is supporting you, or you had funds, designated already. You would put that here. And then down here, you would put the total. This gives us an understanding of the scope of the cost of your idea. So what you'll notice in the second box is these are expenses related to your grant request, only the grant request. And so this allows me to see what, if you're requesting 10,000, how are you allocating that? How are you breaking that down? And be as detailed as possible in terms of, if you want to use 5,000 for supplies, that's perfectly fine. But what you would do is put supplies, and then maybe in parentheses say paintbrushes, paints, or video, film, or things of that nature. You don't have to have exact dollar amounts at this point, because we will revise the budget if you're funded, but supplies is too general. So tell us what supplies that you're hoping to buy. And then you'll scroll down, there's a second expense table. You may or may not use this. So like if you get funding outside of the grant, and let's say you get 5,000 from a local foundation, this is where you will break down what you're using that expense for. That allows us to see the full scope of your project, event, etc. And then the last box you may or may not have is in-kind contributions. And so let's say that you're doing an event and a local venue says, you know, I really like what you're doing, and we're going to give you the space for free. And so that's an in-kind contribution. So you would put the name of the location and as a venue, and you could estimate the amount that it would really cost you if you were paying for it. Any questions about the budget template? One of the things I do emphasize is you have to do your budget within this template. It keeps it consistent for me to be able to collate all the information. And so if you're having challenges with it, just work with me and I can help you. But if you submit an application that does not use this template, I will have to send it back and say it's not eligible to be reviewed. Any questions for that?
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. There's a question in the chat, you know, can I sit down with applicants and support and consult with you? Yes, all you do is shoot me an email. We'll get you on the calendar. You can come to ArtsBuild and we can definitely do that. So yeah, you just go directly through me. I'm going to put my email in the chat already so that y'all can have it, and we'll set that up for sure. And we can also do, if coming to ArtsBuild is a challenge, we can do it on Zoom as well. We're going to go back to our presentation. If I can find it. There we are, we're back. So I spoke about this, you know, some encouragements to really start early and you know, proofread and check in with us, get it in by October 5th. So the grant is scored on in 5 categories: strength and quality, clearly stated in attainable project outcomes, realistic timeline to implement grant outcomes, reasonable budget, and also adequately addresses documentation. So basically, you're painting us a picture of what you want to do, and you want the reviewers to be able to understand that, to feel sure that you can move forward in your project. The budget seems reasonable. You have your steps in place for A to B to C to Z, things of that nature. Because that is who we're using to help make funding decisions. It's community members who are familiar with arts and culture in Hamilton County, who are patrons, who are artists themselves, who are parts of arts organizations. And so they're looking at your grant based on this scoring criteria. One thing I want to emphasize, you know, writing grants traditionally has felt very challenging for some folks. It's intimidating. I'll emphasize that I'll show you our grant application. It's very straightforward. You can also do video. And so a lot of our longer questions give you the opportunity to write the answer or to do a video. What I'll say about the video is what I've noticed is that you need to practice before you do your video to make sure you're strategically, you know, telling the story of what you want to do. And so just make sure you're practicing that video before you do the recording of it. As I talked about, the grant review panel is comprised of community members with diverse backgrounds, as well as ArtsBuild board members. And so how the process works is when October 5th hits, the application closes. And what I will do is I will audit all the applications for eligibility and things of that nature so that I can move it forward to the grant reviewers. What they do is they read and score the applications, and then we will hold a panel meeting. And what that means is top scoring applicants are invited to the Zoom to answer questions and that the reviewers have put on their application. So you have about 10 minutes to talk about, your grant and answer questions. And then afterwards, all the grants go into allocations, and then funding is decided on at that point. Any questions about that?
Melissa, can you please go back on the scoring sheet that you were showing before?
Yes, of course.
Thank you so much.
And this scoring breakdown is in the guidelines as well. It's just so you know, so you'll be able to see it. Thank
you so much.
Yeah, no problem. So some of the benefits of applying, besides getting funding, right, is you gain experience in applying and going through a grant application process, which will prepare you for other opportunities. One of the things we do here at ArtsBuild is we keep our community informed of other grant opportunities outside of us, such as through the Tennessee Arts Commission, through Unfoundation, through South Arts, Humanities Tennessee's, places of that nature. So this is a great opportunity to get your feet wet on like what it means to apply for a grant and write a grant and go through that process. By writing this grant, you'll have an artist statement and you'll start creating a portfolio of your work, which will be helpful for future endeavors. You'll become part of our network. You'll be able to stay up to date with what we're doing each and every day in terms of our programs and grants and resources. And then it'll give us the opportunity to celebrate your work, and help you network and move through the community with your art in an even greater capacity. And the last slide is just my email and my phone number and our website. One of the things that is really a great thing to do is jump on our website, sign up for our newsletter, ArtsWire, comes out every Thursday. It talks about all the events happening in Chattanooga related to arts and culture, if there's any jobs available, upcoming grant opportunities, whether it's through us or an outside organization. So I am going to stop sharing my screen, and we are good on time. So I might show you, if I can, the submit website. Let's see, I'm going to share it right now.
Melissa?
Yeah.
Is there available support for building the portfolio when applying? If like when asking for application support, like reviewing and tips on?
Yeah, we can, definitely connect you with folks in Chattanooga to help you with that capacity for sure.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Let's see if I can. See if I can get y'all to the application. It's not live yet. No, we're back at Pablo's event. Okay. I'm going to take you through sort of the back door of submit, so you can see. So this is the grant. So there are 26 questions, but don't be intimidated by that. Some of it's like your name, email, things of that nature. And so this is not how it looks. This is how I see it through the back door. It'll look different tomorrow, but I wanted to give y'all a basic view of what we're asking. So a lot of it's just profile questions. You know, are you a BIPOC female artist? Yes or no? And then things of that nature, like uploading a W-9, we provide a link for that. And you'll, you know, choose the funding category. I've linked in the guidelines again to really emphasize that. You'll designate your discipline. If you fall within several disciplines, pick the one that's you're predominantly applying for and explain it later. You talk about how much money you're going to ask for. And then down here is kind of the artist profile, websites and social media links and things like that. And so then we're getting into the meat of the application. Tell us about yourself. How has the arts affected you? How long have you been making art? So we give you lots of prompts. And this is a question that you'll see that you can do a written answer or a video. So those longer questions, and it'll designate it like you can either provide written answer or upload a video. You know, just sort of scrolling through it. And then there's a grant funding description section, like how will you use the money? Talk about that, write it out, talk it out. And then here is where it says, please list all income and expenses related to the grant project using the template form, where we've emphasized, you know, please use the template provided. If you need any support, reach out to me. And that's pretty much it. You know, the last question is if you could upload 5 examples of previous work that you've had, just so we can see, you know, your art and things of that nature. Okay. What other questions that you have? We're great on time. We have about 10 minutes, so plenty of time for questions if there are any.
Thank you so much, Melissa. I think I'm quite clear right now, but if I have any question, I know your email address, how to approach you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, of course.
Thank you. Yeah.
I have a question. So I know it's like female BIPOC grant, but I identify as like a non-binary female, and I wasn't necessarily sure if that was going to be something like if you were considering like queer individuals who identify as like female as well. So I just wanted to ask.
Yes, that we're leaving that up to you as you identify. And so if you say you are part of this cohort, then you are part of this cohort. Does that make sense?
Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Can funds be requested from each of the specified funding categories? Yeah, I mean, it can flow through the funding categories, no problem. I would really clearly delineate that in your grant description and why, you know, why you're putting it in the 3 categories, how it's going to move forward your artistic endeavors. And, you know, one of the things is this is helping artists create new works of art, or the ability to create new works of art. So keep that in mind. So yes, thank you for that question. Okay. Awesome. I'm going to say thank you. We're super appreciative.
And Melissa, I just wanted, before we end, I'm gonna put in the chat, because I wanted to remind people that our Periscope Artist Entrepreneur Training Program is recruiting through tomorrow. So you can fill out the application. Tomorrow is the deadline. And also, we would love for you all to, if ArtsBuild has supported you throughout the year, we would love for you to come out and support us at our new annual fundraiser, intermission, which is happening on September 14th. And I'm putting that link in the chat too, so you can check out both of those. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Appreciate that. Yes, if you have any questions about that, shoot us an email or buy your tickets today. So awesome. Well, thank you so much. And as always, reach out if you need support. We're here to help you through the process.